Welcome to Neil. What episode is this
This is episode 12.
of the American System of Political Economy podcast? Today, leading economist from the 19th century American school is making a comeback. Neil calls him the second best American economist of the latter half of the 19th century. We're talking about John Lord Hayes. And the title of today's episode, number 12, is John Lord Hayes and the Superiority of the American System of Political Economy, Nationally Recognized the Machine Shop. Hayes wrote several pamphlets from the 1850s to the 1880s. He was made the chief clerk of the Patent Office in 1861. He was secretary of the National Association of Wool Manufacturers, editor of the Bulletin Organ of the National Association of Wool Manufacturers. He was the head of the Tariff Commission from 1882 to 1883. The Tariff Commission was an advisory body concerning the regulation of trade and commerce. They would advise the Congress how to make tariff laws. Giles B. Stebbins, American System economist, did Hayes Memorial. James Swank of the American Iron and Steel Association wrote a tribute in memory of Hayes. Swank stated that Hayes' most excellent work was in his support of protection. Swank also stated that John Lord Hayes stands with Alexander Hamilton, Henry C. Carey, Stephen Caldwell, and Dr. William Elder. John Lord Hayes' body of work as the second best political economist of the later half of the 19th century is indisputable. This will be seen in this presentation. There are some parts that are left out. The stuff discussed will be, one, what the British did to the best country in textile manufacturing, to be the best country in textile manufacturing, textile machinery. Two, the British being self-poetic justice, the United States does not believe in Adam Smith. Three, encouragement of the useful arts is above any single issue. Four, how does Hayes see the machine shops? Five, retooling was done to build locomotives in the United States. Six, Hayes shows that ideas are powerful, and this is what free trade does not have. Seven, Hayes says the South needs its own machine shops so that she can become nurseries of mechanics, schools of invention, and fountains of labor-aiding power. Eight, Hayes has a metaphor for protection that has never been seen in political economic book or pamphlet. Samuel Slater, 1768 to 1885. What I went through says enough. But look what economic historians introduce us to. Hayes acknowledged Samuel Slater, the father of the American Industrial Revolution, puts it over the top. The following information comes from John Lord Hayes' American Textile Machinery. Popular opinion credits Slater for being the father of American Industrial Revolution, but Hayes goes a step further in saying that Slater did not only introduce cotton manufacturing in America, he is recognized by Hayes as being responsible for the manufacture of textile machinery in America. Machine shops repaired and made textile machinery. Before him, there were no steam engines, no engine lots, no machine tools, no artificer shops with power. Hayes even has a story about the greatest thing American Andrew Jackson ever did in his life. Jackson to Slater, quote, I understand you taught us how to spin so as to rival Great Britain in manufacturer. Slater, yes, sir. I suppose that I gave you the psalm, and they have been singing it to the tune ever since. I have not come across a political economy book or pamphlet by an American who tells the story or speaks of Samuel Slater. John Lord Hayes has done something that has not been done before. Before in political economy, he's responsible for the cotton textile industry, the textile machinery, and the textile industry is nothing without a machine tool sector, which Hayes is responsible for. We owe a lot to Samuel Slater. Do field traders and their lap dogs revere Samuel Slater? I believe the answer to that is no. Neil, I think you can take it away from there.
Okay. So, John Lord Hayes and the superiority of the American system of political economy nationally recognized the machine shop. What I also want to add is that John Lord Hayes is the best friend of the South, and we shall see that later on in the presentation. So, Victor, can you go to the next slide? Okay. So, American Textile Machinery, its early characteristics, contributions to the industry of the world, relations to other industries, and claims for national recognition by John Lord Hayes. This pamphlet was written in 1879. This was the second best pamphlet in the 1870s. The first one was Henry C. Carey's Commerce, Christianity, and Civilization versus the British Empire. So that's that's quite a 1-2 punch. Henry Carey and John Lord Hayes. It's a big 1-2 punch. Next slide, please, Victor. Okay, now we will look at the British and what the British wanted to do to Europe and the colonies in America. 1774. The British do not want countries having her technology. This technology is textile machinery technology because Britain wanted the cotton manufacturing business all to themselves. This is what they call having this is what they call this is not laissez-faire. The British do not believe in laissez-faire. The British want to monopolize the cotton textile machinery sector. That's not laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is let it alone. Let things take its course. All right. So here's what the preamble of a law that the British made in 1774. The preamble recites, whereas the exportation of the several tools or utensils made use of in preparing, working up, and finishing the cotton and linen manufactures of this kingdom, or any or either of them, or any other goods wherein cotton or linen or either of them are used, will enable foreigners to work up such manufactures and greatly diminish the exportation from this kingdom. Therefore, for preserving as much as possible to His Majesty's British subjects the benefits arising from these great and viable branches of trade and commerce, it is enacted. So the British were not going by laissez-faire. They're saying we want a monopoly of the cotton manufacturing machinery sector in the world. No other country is going to have our technology in making linen and cotton on a mass scale. How come Adam Smith didn't talk about this? Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations in 1776. This statute came out in 1774. Adam Smith never said anything of the sort, saying that, oh, it is a big crime for the British to monopolize the textile industry. He said nothing. What we have to understand about the British is that the British will use Joshua Gee and Adam Smith to make sure that nations don't develop. Joshua Gee in 1750 stated that we can't allow for the colonies to have manufacturing, because if they have manufacturing, they will have domestic commerce, and they will become they will not become dependent on us, but they will become independent, right? And so this textile machinery, the textile machinery will do wonders for countries, but the British didn't want that. The British, I repeat again, the British did not want other countries having her technology. The British did not want other countries having her technology. That's not laissez-faire. That's bad cop, using force to make sure that other countries do not develop. What's so dangerous about a textile machinery? What's so dangerous about a textile machinery? Well, in order to have a textile machinery and you build textile machinery, you're going to need to have machine shops and a machine tool sector, right? These machine tools are housed in machine shops. Machine shops make a nation independent. But if we take a look at the news, oh, the stock market determines how good an economy is doing. The American system of political economy, they base their economy on labor aiding power, increasing energy flux density, right? The British do not want to see an increase of energy flux density in countries. That's why they wanted to deprive countries of technology. That's why you had the 1774 statute. Next slide, Victor. Oh, this is a great one, right? So the British are going to have the United States of America is going to give the British poetic justice. And John Lord Hayes is going to speak on this. England policy for the world and for the US failed. What was that policy? Going back to the previous slide, deprive countries of technology. That was the British policy. Deprive countries of technology. Okay. Deprived of English machinery, which she would have contented herself with importing if permitted, instead of the one industry which she aimed to acquire, she attained two, and one infinitely higher than that which she sought, viz. The industry of manufacturing machinery, the power of creating mechanical force and of placing its labor aiding power at the command of every national industry. Forced to be self-reliant, our textile arts and our machinery are as original and characteristic as our indigenous plants, and we may add, as noble and symmetrical as our native elms. Thus did England's policy of restriction overreach itself and build up the rival which she now most dreads. Okay, so John Lord Hayes acknowledges that the British would not permit their machinery to be exported to countries, right? And then he says, okay, you want to do that? We'll make our own textile machinery, right? And then John Lord Hayes said, in the process of doing that, the United States of America got something that the British see as an existential crisis to the British Empire, a machine tool sector. The United States of America got a machine tool sector. If we take a look at Project 1619, what does Project 1619 only talk about? Slavery and the treatment of Native Americans, which was wrong. They never talk about how the United States of America had an industrial revolution. Some people go as far as to say something stupid, saying that slavery developed the United States of America. No, what developed the United States of America and gave itself independence was the machine tool sector. Any economist not saying that the machine tool sector developed the United States of America is not a physical economist. They are otherwise known and classified as a jabroni, right? Okay, so John Lord Hayes says the machine tool sector is more important than the textile machinery. And why is that? The reason why the machine tool sector is more important than the textile industry is because the machine tool sector builds the textile machinery, and the textile machinery was only the top of the surface concerning what the machine tool sector can do, right? But not only that, John Lord Hayes says that the British overreached their power, and by them being Zeus, not allowing for technology to be had in the United States of America and Europe, they made a rivalry out of the United States of America. They dreaded and feared the United States of America. They didn't fear the United States of America because they had slavery. They didn't fear the United States of America because they mistreated Native Americans. They didn't fear the United States of America because she had so much land that was good and the United States of America could become an agricultural power. No, they feared the United States of America because the United States of America built a machine tool sector. And you do not build a machine tool sector relying on free trade. As I state again, I say it again, the British feared the machine tool sector. So when the British want to deprive nations of technology, we see that this doesn't work. They have to use liberal means, and these liberal means sometimes work and they sometimes don't work, but they're more effective than the bad cop routine. Okay, next slide, Victor. The next slideshow is about how important are the useful arts. Now, I asked this question: was the South promoting the useful arts more than the North? I think the North was promoting the useful arts way more than the South. Way more than the South, right? In the Constitution, it says Congress shall promote the useful arts and the sciences. What are the useful arts? Encouraging the useful arts is why the U.S. prospered. As Fisher Ames wrote of the country at this period, the spirit of enterprise has of late been uncommonly ardent, while Massachusetts and Rhode Island were vainly stretching out their arms to grasp the new enterprise which was enriching England. That was the textile industry. Pennsylvania, always stepping unconsciously with these two New England states, had founded a society for the encouragement of the useful arts, whose efforts were no less eager to acquire the new textile industry.
You have to bet on yourself. A lot of people value money over valuing themselves. I value myself over money.
Victor, you have something playing in the background.
Marketing and sales is huge. If you don't have somebody overseeing it,
I'm going to repeat the quote. Encouraging the useful arts, this is why the U.S. prospered. As Fisher Ames wrote of the country at this period, the spirit of enterprise has of late been uncommonly ardent, while Massachusetts and Rhode Island were vainly stretching out their arms to grasp the new enterprise which was enriching England. Pennsylvania, always stepping unconsciously with these two New England states, had founded a society for the encouragement of the useful arts, whose efforts were no less eager to acquire the new textile industry. So states in the United States of America wanted to build textile industry. Now, what are societies for the encouragement of useful arts? Societies for the useful arts give bounties and premiums to people who make textile machinery and also machine tools. Why do they do that? They do that to encourage manufacturing. And who put somebody by the name of Alexander Hamilton, who is revered throughout the United States of America? I have 3 pamphlets by societies that wanted to encourage manufacturing and the useful arts in the United States of America. 2 of them are the American Society for the Encouragement of Domestic Manufacturers, and another one is National Institution for the Promotion of Industry. Both of these pamphlets reference General Alexander Hamilton. In Hamilton's report on manufacturing, he says one of the ways in which manufacturing can be encouraged is by setting up societies. And what's going to happen? Well, the government would give premiums and bounties to people or companies or a set of people who are making machine tools, making textile machinery, or stuff that's good for the economy. Now, let's take a look at this right now. So a society for the encouragement of the useful arts. So back in the 19th century and late 18th century, we had pretty good societies that wanted to promote the useful arts and sciences. But today, what do we have? We have the sterilization movement. We have the environmentalist movement. We have drug legalization, right? Those societies are not going to do anything worthwhile for civilization. The sole purpose for the useful arts is to increase the potential relative population density for a country. It is supposed to increase the energy flux density of an economy, right? Now, if we take a look at Lyndon LaRouche, right? What did Lyndon LaRouche contribute to the encouragement of the useful arts? His whole life as a physical economist. But we're going to use one example. Lyndon LaRouche, when he set up the Fusion Energy Foundation, that was a society that was encouraging the useful arts. What was that useful arts and sciences? Fusion. But it was shut down. Who shut down fusion power? The people that gave us the sterilization project, the people that gave us the environmentalist movement, the people that gave us the drug legalization movement. That's not a useful art. It's simply not, right? A useful art should have a country prosper, right? We take a look at Adam Smith and the free trade crowd. What type of technology is the free trade crowd insisting that we have? Well, if we take a look at the Democrat presidential candidate or the Green Party candidate or ruling parties in Europe, they support green power. That's not the useful arts and sciences, right? If we had the people of the 19th century alive today, they will be doing massive political fighting to revive the Fusion Energy Foundation. Not only that, they would personally see to it that sub-Saharan Africa will get their own machine shops, will have their very own machine tool sector. But we don't have that today. People who want to help out Africa, they want to give Africa free trade. Not the free trade that domestic commerce creates. They want to give sub-Saharan Africa a trade that's going to be invasive to other countries. So here we have a situation where the useful arts are not being used at all, right? The useful arts are not being promoted. What's being promoted instead? A trade that is invasive. And what is invasive trade? Invasive trade supplants industry in other countries, and it destroys domestic commerce. Just take a look at this. These societies in the 19th century, founded in New England and in Pennsylvania, they also united. They had branches in different states in the United States of America. We can see that they want to increase the potential relative population density of the world. We can see that. We cannot say that the free traders want to increase the potential relative population density. They don't want to do that. And if they don't want to do that, what are they encouraging? They're encouraging death. They're encouraging no future. They might as well be saying we want thermonuclear war, because those same policies lead free trade. British free trade will lead to thermonuclear war. British free trade is not going to lead to countries accepting the Belt and Road Initiative. The countries that want British free trade, they do not want to see a promotion of the useful arts. The only societies they want is a death cult. That's what the environmentalist movement is, a death cult. The sterilization project is a death cult. The drug legalization movement is a death cult. Okay, Victor, next slide.
You ready for the next slide?
Next slide. How to secure industrial independence. Okay. So this presentation has to go down as a presentation that wanted to nationally recognize the machine shops, right? And this quote right here is going to do it. This is John Lord Hayes, second best political economist of the latter half of the 19th century. Our machine shops, it will be invidious to specify examples. It is believed compare favorably with any in the world in their mechanical appliances, the material worked up, and the skill of their native workmen. Such establishments are the first necessities of a manufacturing nation and the most important of securities for industrial independence. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is that John Lord Hayes is saying that countries look at the United States of America, their machine tool sector, and what their machine tools make as first rank. They compare they outperform other countries in machine tool making and machinery making. How does this happen? This doesn't happen by not encouraging the useful arts and the sciences. This happens through protectionism. If you had free trade in the United States of America, just look at down south. What type of machine tool sector did they have? They have manual labor, slave labor, free trade, slavery. The people in Europe were not saying, oh, down south, the United States of America has the best machine tool sector down south. No, they were saying the United States of America has the best machine tool sector in the north of the United States of America. How come the South didn't have this? Because they were wedded to British free trade. Excuse me. And the free traders did not want to address that. So John Lord Hayes is saying that the United States of America, their machine tool sector and the machines that they built were heavily admired by Europe, right? And then we go even further, right? Which what he says. He says the machine tool sector secured the industrial independence of the United States of America. What school of political economy even says something like that? Do free traders do? John Stuart Mill, part of the classical system, never spoke about that. He questioned whether or not machinery and advanced technology did anything to improve the life of man. How could John Stuart Mill want to improve the life of man where he believed in David Ricardo? David Ricardo stated that when man habitats land, he goes from the most potent land to the land that yields the lowest, right? John Stuart Mill called that a diminishing value of return. He's essentially saying that man is not the developing species, that man is incapable of developing, that man is a slave of nature. How could an economic system who praises such crap like that want to promote the useful arts and sciences and say the machine tool sector led to the industrial independence of a country? No, they don't want that. British free trade. What did the British system give us? Oh, no, we can't have these countries having textile machinery. We can't have these countries having a machine tool sector. We can't have these countries having protectionism. Oh, the machine tool sector didn't give countries independence. That's what they'll say. What gave these countries independence? Oh, their raw materials, their agriculture. What does Karl Marx says? Says nothing because he's an absolute jabroni. I wonder if Karl Marx even said anything about the machine tool sector of the United States of America. Did Karl Marx give any type of praise to Samuel Slater? No. Did Karl Marx give any type of understanding that the machine tool sector would give a country industrial independence? No. The school of free trade would not either, right? So John Lord Hayes, as I state again, is making the case for the machine tool sector to be nationally recognized. The British system didn't want the machine tool sector nationally recognized. Karl Marx didn't want the machine tool sector nationally recognized. Only the American system of political economy did. And it was done at the leadership of John Lord Hayes. John Lord Hayes saw the machine tool sector as a way to have a country be industrially independent. That's one of the goals of a political economist: industrial independence for the nation. Next slide. Oh, we can go on break, Victor. Are we going to do a break, Victor?
Let's just keep going.
Okay, go to quote number 5. the power of the Lowell machine shop. Okay, so the main industries in the world, in Europe and in the United States of America in the 1800s, 1810s, 1820s, 1830s were the textile industry, right? So the machine tools were mainly building textile machinery. When we got to the age of the railroad era and the locomotive era, you saw a movement in the United States of America up north, not in the South, because the South had free trade, and free trade doesn't have a machine tool sector, right? We British free trade, as I said again, doesn't have a machine tool sector. The North had a machine tool sector. Why did the North had a machine tool sector and the South didn't? The South didn't have a good view of man. When you're for British free trade, you have a horrible satanic view of man, right? And so the Lowell machine shop, which John Lord Hayes speak of, right? They went from making textile machinery to locomotives. The Lowell machine shop, founded by the cotton manufacturer, supplied the first locomotives for New England and continues their fabrication of an extensive scale. The ingenuity and the skill of Mr. Mason, developed in constructing cotton machinery, was early applied to the locomotive, of which he greatly improved the form. And the manufacture of locomotives concurrently with cotton machinery is extensively carried on by the establishment in Taunton. Okay, so the Lowell machine shop went from producing cotton textile machinery to building locomotives for the United States of America. What did this do? This very act right here increased the potential relative population density of the United States of America, right? If we take a look at the United States of America and the United States of America shifting or moving away from certain type of production, did that new type of production increase the potential relative population density? No. Making windmills and solar panels does not increase the potential relative population density. It doesn't do that. Making Bitcoin did not increase the potential relative population density. OnlyFans did not create potential relative population density. Legalizing marijuana did not increase the potential relative population density. The machine shop increased the potential relative population density, and it needs to be given national recognition. And once again, John Lord Hayes is saying this, right? This is one of the best pamphlets of all time in political economy. John Lord Hayes deserves his props for writing this pamphlet. But what deserves even more props is the machine tool sector. Now, I first became aware of the machine tool sector. I knew how important manufacturers was, right? But I didn't know it in detail like Lyndon LaRouche did, right? So in 2005, LaRouche has a campaign, or 2006, I'm not sure, had a campaign to save the machine tool sector in the United States of America. And a guy by the name of Felix Rohatyn stomped it out. We're not doing that. A machine tool sector is not important in the United States of America. What faction does that represent? That represents the faction of Joshua Gee and Adam Smith. It represents British free trade. LaRouche represents the American system of political economy. If LaRouche saw this pamphlet that John Lord Hayes wrote, he would have loved the pamphlet. He would have spoke very highly of John Lord Hayes. Next slide show, Victor. Oh, go back, go back one slideshow. I need to say something else. Okay. So when the United States of America, when the machine shops started building locomotives, how come they didn't say, why don't we just buy in the cheapest market? Do we really have to develop a locomotive industry in the United States of America? We didn't have Adam Smiths in the North. We had people that wanted protectionism. We had people that wanted to develop a new type of industry. We had people who wanted to increase the diversity of employments, right? When you buy in the cheapest market, you do not increase domestic commerce. You do not increase the diversity of employments, and you don't add to the circulation of the currency. When you buy in the cheapest markets, you're going to look down upon industry, which means you're going to look down upon the machine tool sector. And if you take a look at the United States of America, right, what Felix Rohatyn did, he said, we can get machine parts in Mexico for cheaper than in the United States of America. So we don't need a machine tool sector in the United States of America. We're going to send part of that machine tool sector over to Mexico and we're going to use their cheap labor, right? This type of thinking is not going to keep a machine tool sector. Take a look at the military industrial complex. We have a machine tool sector in the machinery, in the military industrial complex, but it is not increasing the potential relative population density. The military industrial complex is working overtime to make sure that there's thermonuclear war. Right? So here you have a faction, Lyndon LaRouche versus Felix Rohatyn and the military industrial complex. One would see the textile machinery and the machine tools that built them as being natural for them to build locomotives. The Felix Rohatyn and the military industrial complex faction wouldn't see it that way. They said, you don't need to retool your machine tool sector. Buy in the cheapest market. You don't need to have a diversity of employment. You don't need to have a high view of man to employ people. Buy in the cheapest market. And buying in the cheapest market destroyed the machine tool sector in the United States of America. Next slide, Victor. Hayes' policy for the South, the American system is the best. Now, before I said John Lord Hayes is the best friend the South ever had, but that friendship never manifested, right? But FDR was the greatest friend the South ever had because of what he did as president. Now, the South could have developed after the Civil War was won by the North. But the British made it possible for the South to not be developed. You still had industrialists and American system people that wanted to develop the South. And here's what John Lord Hayes said. The manufacture of machinery at the South to be encouraged. That's the headline. The South of all sections of the country can least afford to have machinery free. She needs a diversified industry of which her former system of labor deprived her of. Free trade deprived the South of industrial independence. Even more than the factory, she needs the machine shop. The fruitful mother of diversified industries. She is unjust to her own capacity and her magnificent resources when she aims at anything less than producing for herself all that is necessary for industrial independence. So John Lord Hayes is saying the South does not need free machinery. Who were the people saying that, oh, you should go with free machinery? That means importing machinery for free. Where is that going to come from? It's going to come from England. But hold on. Didn't it, in 1774, the British said, we don't want to export machinery to the colonies or to Europe. And now they want to export machinery to the United States of America? You know what? They want to do that, but guess what? That same country, England, also wants to keep a hegemony on manufacturing goods, right? And the manufacturing industry. So you can give the South, you can give America free machinery, all you want to. But if you still have England being hegemonic in manufacturers, they will just crush out the manufacturing sectors in Europe and in the United States of America. So they're going to make money selling you machinery that that's not going to have a long-term use, because they're going to stifle your manufacturers with their exports of cheap manufacturing goods. You're not going to develop a textile machinery, and you won't need a machine tool sector, because you wouldn't be industrially independent, because the British will go out of their way to make sure that there will be no textile manufacturing or no other type of manufacturing in your nation. And John Lord Hayes says this in the pamphlet, right? Then we take a look at something else, right? This is how John Lord Hayes is the best friend of the South. He's saying that, okay. He's saying, okay, no, the South can have cotton factories. That's not enough. They need machine shops. John Lord Hayes said the South needs machine shops. If anybody read this today and they were a bona fide protectionist, their jaws would drop, right? And he said John Lord Hayes wanted the South to have a machine tool sector. How come I don't know about this? This is not known about through school. There should be a John Lord Hayes Day in the South. Instead of honoring the Confederacy and what's his name, Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis, they should have a day in the South where they pay tribute to John Lord Hayes, and saying John Lord Hayes would have no longer had us be a concubine of the British Empire. But Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee are concubines of the British Empire, right? So we got that said. Then we go to the last part, right? He said that the South has magnificent resources, and it will be unjust for the South to not use those resources. But hold on. I thought when you have free trade and when you allow for free trade, businessmen and people know what to do. They make the best decisions, right? This is according to Adam Smith, right? if you use Adam Smith's logic, right? The South knew what it was doing by not developing its resources because the population knew what they were doing. The slaveocracy knew what they were doing. Oh, you don't need to develop your manufacturers. You don't need to develop your resources. Just use cheap labor. Use free trade. And then we have John Lord Hayes. The South admires the slaveocracy, admires Jefferson Davis, admires Robert E. Lee. They should put a statue of John Lord Hayes in every capital in the South. That's what they should do. They should take all the Confederate statues down and they should put statues of American system advocates in the South. And also FDR, right? And say, here are our best friends. That's what they should do. I mean, because what John Lord Hayes is saying is just absolutely beautiful. I state again, John Lord Hayes is saying that the South not only needs cotton manufacturers, they need a machine tool sector. They need machine shops. What economists do we have today in the United States of America that's saying that? The only political movement that's saying that is the LaRouche organization. They're the only ones who are saying that. Next slide, Victor. Hayes wants the South to have her own machine tool sector. So we're going to touch upon this again, but John Lord Hayes is going to say even more. To triumph in the industrial race, she must rally every available industry and harness them all abreast like the steeds in the Olympic course. Let the South multiply her cotton factories, but let her have her own machine shops, under or near them. Even at first, they are as humble as the old repair shops of New England. Like them, they will expand to independent establishments and become nurseries of mechanics, schools of invention, and fountains of labor, aid, and power. Wow. So we'll take a look at the first sentence, right? John Lord Hayes is saying everything must be done to develop industry in the United States of America. All needs to be harnessed. That's going to improve the industry of America and especially the South, right? Okay, well, we're going to need national banking for that. We're going to need protectionism for that. We're going to need internal improvements for that. We're going to need LaRouche's 4 economic laws to do that. We're going to need Helga Zepp LaRouche's 10 principles to do that. That's what we're going to need. What are we going to get from the late Felix Rohatyn, John Stuart Mill, Joshua Gee, Adam Smith? Buy in the cheapest market. You don't need to have an industrial sector. You don't need to have industrial independence. But if you're going to have a strong military, have a machine tool sector, and only use that machine tool sector to build military equipment. So you can kill thousands of children in Palestine. That's the whole purpose of a military in the of the military weapon factory in the United States of America, to kill toddlers in Palestine. A machine tool sector shouldn't be doing that. A machine tool sector should be elevating mankind. Elevating mankind. Now, what we're going to do, excuse me. So John Lord Hayes, as I stated again, is saying, let the South have cotton manufacturers, but they need a machine tool sector. And look how John Lord Hayes characterizes the machine tool sector. He calls them schools of invention. Schools of invention. I know Felix Rohatyn would never say that. Felix Rohatyn would never say the machine tool shop is a school of invention. Lyndon LaRouche would say that. He would agree to that, what John Lord Hayes said, right? So schools of invention. That must mean that man must be fundamentally good. It also must mean you have a high view of man. John Stuart Mill is of the opinion that all the advancements that mankind has made has not advanced man. That's absolutely wrong. John Stuart Mill will be against having a machine tool sector in every country, right? And then we have the last one. Fountains of labor aiding power. The machine tool sector is the supplier of labor aiding power for America. Labor aiding power. What is labor aiding power? The machine, the textile machinery, the locomotive, all types of engines, all types of machine tools that build other machines. Those are that's the labor aiding power. Who described the machine tool that way? I know Karl Marx never did that. I know Adam Smith never did that. I know Thomas Malthus never did that. I know David Ricardo never did that. I know John Ramsey McCulloch never said that. I know John Stuart Mill never said that. I know Henry George never said that. And I know John Carnes never said that. I know Milton Friedman never said that. I damn sure know that Felix Rohatyn never said that either. What John Lord Hayes is saying, the machine tool sector is the supplier of labor aiding power machines. No school of political economy, except for the American system of political economy, is going to say that. You're not going to get it from free trade. What does free trade want for the world? What does British free trade want for the world? Laissez-faire, comparative advantage. The British do not believe in comparative advantage. Showing how the British wanted to ban exports of machinery to go to Europe and the United States of America shows that the British do not believe in laissez-faire. How the British use free trade to not develop the South shows that the British know that laissez-faire doesn't work. Laissez-faire needs to go. It can no longer be recognized throughout the world. The machine tool sector has to be recognized all throughout the world, just not in the United States of America. What we need to see happen is that little kids in elementary schools all throughout the world need to be drawing pictures of machine tools, right? They need to see videos of machine tools, drawing pictures of machine tools, saying, I want to design the next big machine tool. That's what they need to do. We're going to have societies for the useful arts. And we are going to be churning out machinists in the United States of America and throughout the world. These machinists are going to be mostly females, right? We are not going to have females be working in OnlyFans. We're not going to have that. The mind needs to be utilized. So when Hayes is saying that let the South have cotton manufactories, but they need their own machine shops, That's a high view of man, right? The machine tool sector needs to be recognized worldwide. Little kids have to be drawing pictures of machine tools of of a machine tool shop, of machine tools. That's what they need to be drawing, right? We can no longer, what we have to see the machinist and the political economist of the American system. Kids want to grow up to be like them. They don't want to grow up to be like Patrick Mahomes or LeBron James or other sports stars or rappers or pop stars. They have to be the best friend of the South, but not only the best friend of the South, the best friend of the global South, because the global South needs a machine tool sector. And the United States of America, China, Japan, parts of Europe, South Korea, India have to step up, especially the United States of America. If we don't get out of this drive for thermonuclear war, we are not going to be the best friends of the global South. And John Lord Hayes has the blueprint for the West to be the best friend of the global South. Next slide show, please, Victor. What is the colossal overshadowing tree? This is what makes John Lord Hayes so superb as a political economist. He says the history of industry, which we have reviewed, refutes as we conceive on every page the doctrine of free trade, that unlimited competition is the essential condition of the healthy industrial growth of a nation. We have seen a great manufacturer planted in a new country by means of a system of restriction more rigorous than the strictest prohibition tariff of our own could have been. We have seen this restriction, that it was involuntary on our part, does not affect the question, which was the virtual prohibition of foreign competing products, continuing during the first half century of our industrial career. And with what results? The sapling industry thriving because no colossal overshadowing tree at its side intercepted the sun from its leaves or covered the ground with roots, extracting the nutriment from the soil, has expanded into a proportion and symmetry of which the glorious solitary elm of New England interval is a fit type. That's a powerful statement. So I'm a talk on 2 points. The first sentence, when he says the history of the industry which we have reviewed refutes, as we conceive on every page, the doctrine of free trade. So when John Lord Hayes is talking about the machine tool sector, he's saying the machine tool sector didn't come about by unlimited competition, invasive trade, as in a trade that destroys domestic commerce and destroys machinery and destroys industries, right? The industry came about through protectionism. This is a fact. If you want to say free trade did it, show it to me. Just show it to me, right? And John Lord Hayes says unlimited competition doesn't develop nations. What's unlimited competition? Unlimited competition is invasive trade. It's the type of trade that supplants domestic manufacturers and kills the home market and gives the home market to foreign companies and foreign countries. Why can't the United States of America have her own home market? Why can't Nigeria have her own home market? Why can't South Africa have her own home market? How come Saudi Arabia can't have her own home market? How come Vietnam can't have her own home market? How come Indonesia can't have her own home market? How come Mexico can't have her own home market? Why do we need so much foreign trade? There's no excuse. There's no reason to have so much foreign trade. We are not organizing the economy properly. That colossal tree, what is that colossal tree? That colossal tree is not protectionism. It's British free trade. That's what the colossal overshadowing tree is, right? And what does British free trade do? It destroys domestic commerce, destroys domestic industries, destroys the circulation of the currency, right? You take a look at this tree, at this colossal tree, right? We take a look at protectionism. What's protectionism going to do? Protectionism is going to uproot that colossal tree and kick its candy ass all the way back to England. Then what we're going to do, we're going to grow our own forest. The sun rays will hit the leaves of the tree. The rain, the nutriment will be sapped by the roots. And our forest of protectionism our forest of domestic industries will grow. That's what we need. The colossal overshadowing tree is free trade. And the colossal overshadowing tree did not develop any country at all whatsoever. The global south does not need a colossal overshadowing tree. She needs domestic commerce. She needs domestic industries. And she needs to have her currency circulating properly. The machine tool sector, people who want to develop a machine tool sector in the global south have a superior banking philosophy. What are you going to use those banks for? You're going to set up industrial banks. You're going to set up banks that deal with infrastructure. You're going to create public credit, private credit. These are the ideas that are coming out of the minds of people that know that the machine tool sector is the key for industrial independence. What type of banks did we hear Felix Rohatyn talk about? What type of banks do we hear Milton Friedman talk about? What type of banks do we hear economists talking about in the United States of America or in Europe? Why isn't there a bank for infrastructure? Why don't we have massive public credit for infrastructure? Can you think of how many machine tools and machines you're going to need to build all this infrastructure throughout the world? But in order to do that, we're going to have to promote the useful arts and sciences. But British free trade doesn't want to do that. John Lord Hayes wanted the machine tool sector to be nationally recognized. You get the machine tool sector nationally recognized, it has to be recognized on a global scale. If it happens globally, this is going to change the thinking of the United States of America. This will change the thinking of the United States of America saying, you know, we should join the Belt and Road Initiative instead of running thermonuclear war. So the world has two choices. Go with the Belt and Road Initiative, which John Lord Hayes would have advocated, or go with thermonuclear war. That's the end of the class.
Is that it?
That's it.